we will in the first part take it, and let me see that we have it on the screen fully. I think now you have the full screen, is that correct? Yes.
It's not a full screen if you need to click that share full screen mode.
Yeah, I have share full screen mode. I have it on, but it doesn't come to the way how we had it. We didn't practice that before because it's a different mode which I have.
It was appeared as full screen mode and came back. So if you click the full screen mode again, it should be good.
Is it full screen for you?
Now it's good, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So when we started that invitation with you all, we decided it is very important that we also learn from you, and we gave you the opportunity to share some questions with us, and we got so many questions that finally we decided to consolidate them in groups. And this is one of the questions which really poked my eye immediately, and I would like to ask my peers here, especially in the early career research of academia, what is your experience which you like to share with our audience? And some of you already told us important elements, like Lucia, when you were saying you went into places where others were saying, is it really the best thing what you can do? And finally you said, it was the best thing for me to do. So the floor is for you now to raise a hand and share with me your experience. Lucia, do you want to take some more on out of this field?
Well, I can tell that when you go, for instance, to conferences, this is very important for those who are in their early stage of their career. Because at conferences, especially during the coffee break, the networking time, you can approach the big professor, those who wrote the books you studied on, those who wrote the milestone papers, and you will see that they are human beings, that they can be interested in what you are studying, what you are doing, and they can even invite you to work with them, to visit their lab. But this is what happened to me when in 1999 I attended the Real-Time Systems Symposium. I met a professor from Seoul National University. We started chatting, and some months after I was postdoc there at Seoul National University. And even in other contexts, IES conferences, it happened to me to approach people, start talking, and then we wrote projects, and we got funded from, for instance, from the European Commission, project that started just during a coffee break. So my suggestion is go to the conference, write papers, and take the maximum out of this experience.
Thank you for sharing, Lucia, especially because one of the initiatives which we are running will fit into that, and I come back to that towards the end. And at the same time, I like to ask Jan in that field what comes to your mind when you get asked about that topic, especially because you were mentioning before, networking is extremely important, and it helped you to make the jump into the right place.
Thank you, Regina. Yeah, so I actually want to talk a bit like why are we doing it? What's the benefit of doing professional service or volunteer experience? So I want to say something about a very practical way. If you are a junior earlier career researcher, as assistant professor or postdoc fellow, etc. For example, if you're going to interview as a faculty member, you will be asked this question, like, what kind of professional service, they don't call it service, but they say activities, or in your community, what have you done? So if you've done nothing, you say, then I think it would be better if you have something to show that. That means whatever question asked by the interview committee, they will evaluate you as part of the interview process. And to be honest, if you are going to next stage, going to tenure promotion, one of the evaluation category is your services. So service, not only evaluating your internal service at your university or organization, it's also like a national or international services. So there's no doubt this is quite important. So for myself, as a benefit, as Lucia mentioned, I think, so you get a chance to work a group of excellent people. They are passionate about volunteering and they know how to do things well. And you kind of learn from them as well. How could we run things so effectively and drive the whole society or drive the whole organization to move forward, to have such excellent events and activities happening in this society. So for myself, we also did lots of work organizing workshops, conferences, get to know more people from there. And I'm very actually enjoy like talking to different people at the conferences, and you will actually shape yourself. Some inspiration come out from the volunteer experiences. Yeah.
Thank you for all that input, and to the audience also, when you have questions which come to your mind now, share them with us, because we will find time and ways how to respond to you either now or later, because that is one of the tasks which we have in our team here on the agenda, mentoring and coaching. And that means that we are not here only to talk. We want you to challenge us, and then we come with responses. And one of these challenges which came to us already prior to it is, what should students prepare for or during their undergraduate for career development in industry? Looking to what we have just learned from some of the professors like Leila or Goldie, then there is a lot which can help us for academic roles. Leila, would you like to share something of your experience in that field?
Sure. So for undergraduate student, or graduate student, if you are interested in a career in industry, for example, so it is always useful to do summer internship. So there are many companies looking for short-term appointment for just summer or for co-ops, maybe 6 months. So that is going to be very helpful. And also in your universities, many research labs, many professors are also interested in recruiting undergraduate students for research. So you can always join and do some research and gain some experience. So you are more prepared for the job market in industry, if that is what interests you. And for academic experience, as Yejun also mentioned previously, always it is important to publish more paper and be more research focused.
Thank you. Goldie, you had a lot of about your robotics. Is there anything which strives you with that question?
Yeah, I think the most important part is to get involved. There's a lot going on behind the doors of your university, your undergrad career. There's, huge labs behind closed doors. I invite you to go and explore what's going on, learn about, what's happening at your university, see what interests you, contact professors to learn more. Professors are also working with industry. Some have their own startup and successful companies as well, and you can get involved that way. And as Leila was mentioning, you can do internships at companies. whether it's 6 months, some universities have year-long or 12 to 16-month internships. Get involved. And the great thing about being an undergrad is you have a world in front of you that you can explore and take advantage of. And I would say beyond taking courses, get involved in student activities that, we usually have industry sponsors, so you can meet industry that way as well. Go to talks by professors and industry speakers and just try to enjoy the whole experience. I think that's what I would want to say with undergrad. Go to your classes. That's very important. Do well in school, but enjoy the whole environment as a whole as well.
Good word. Enjoy, have fun, and combine it. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Well, I think this is why we have developed this group. What can women in engineering really help students? And I'm sure there's plenty of people in the world who could do the same subject, but some people have to start, and like a spider web, we have to share best practice. So I wonder what you're thinking about that topic when such a question reaches you in academia. Leila, you joined the group and there is a reason for it. So you joined for a purpose. What do you think you can contribute?
You mean to the Women in Engineering group?
Now, what these questions, which I have put here together, came from the audience, which is here with us at the moment. So I would say it came from either undergraduate, maybe even from a professor who is presently participating. And their, how you say, consolidation, or my consolidation of that questions is that how can women in engineering, our community, help others, either with our experience or with our network or just with us as a person?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we are always here to share our experiences, answer questions if needed. And I mean, long ago, when I was the IES liaison to IEEE Women in Engineering, there were always some sets of proposals that was sent to IEEE Women in Engineering, not the society. So there is actually another society above us that is just run by IEEE, and there were always proposals sent by different groups, different affinity groups. They were asking for funding to, for example, to organize workshops or different events. So I think those are all kind of things that we can help if anybody anywhere in the world is interested to have some events related to women in engineering. I mean, could be networking, could be other activities. Yeah.
Thank you. And this question, when I see it, I have to say, Lucia, it is a question for you because you started this initiative with passion. And I also know, and I'm not sure if he's today with us because he lives in Australia, Ibrahim Youssef, one of my really big mentors in IEEE, another very, how you say, supportive man, says we have to take up this challenge. So Lucia, what are our tasks?
Well, we need to create a comfortable environment to accommodate all the women, but actually we want to create a diverse environment to accommodate everyone. So the initiatives that we have done in the past and we are planning for this year go in this direction. Other initiatives, for instance, going and talk to girls at school. This is something that I did this year in February. I went to Royal Holloway College in London, and they had a presentation with girls from the high school. So they were girls in their 16, 17 years. And they were asking questions about what is an engineer. I was speaking about computer engineering, but it was really nice to be challenged by their questions and to provide them with a snapshot of our job, what we do, and also the professional perspective outside academia, so a job in a company. And this was really nice. And I think that we should go to the schools more often. This year for the Women's International Day, I also visited a school in my city, and I was presenting our activities to girls who were 14, 15 years old. And it was also very, very nice. I think that the earlier we meet with them, the better, because according to the country, sometimes they choose their career path too early. Sometimes they don't even know what they are choosing, but they simply listen to their parents or to the professor at schools. And so if their environment is affected by the implicit stereotypes problem, it will be very rare to see women taking science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, because the common narration is that these things are for male, and for women there are other kind of topics. So yes, we should meet girls at the early stage of their studies and explain them. There is a STEM word. If they like this word, they should go for this word. They don't have to listen to other people if they like to see themselves in 10 years, like an engineer or physics or mathematician. They should do this, irrespective of what the other think.
I really hear your passion in it, and it proves for sure that there's nothing which should stop us. And this is, which brings me to another question, and I have here like cards which I can juggle in my, how you say, position at the moment. And this is, I'm getting a little bit worried that maybe people go into the field of engineering, male or female, because of AI and ChatGPT, where the question is, does people say everything gets easier because it's not about me anymore, I have external robot help? And I'm wondering, we have two very, how you say, intrinsic people here from where I believe there's some interesting, how you say, thoughts in their mind. Jenny and Goldie, what comes to your mind when this topic comes into the equation? Jenny.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, of course we hear you. Always loud and clear.
Yeah, because my laptop sometimes have trouble. So I'm teaching computer engineering, and robots is one of the top subjects or the projects students like to do. I think the AI, machine learning, all these things exposed our students to the world, which see the intelligence, human beings' intelligence being used to impact our society. So for example, one of my student project, he's interested in like have the machine to help himself to learn. So that is to say, in the future, with all the resources there, if there is kind of a software or kind of the app which can help the learner to pick up the material to give them a step-by-step instruction, then they can learn by themselves. So that puts me to a situation, am my job dangerous? You know, will I lose my job one day? So I think on the one side, the technology give us a opportunity to have a better life. On the other side, some of the career of the job positions nowadays may disappear in in the short future, in the short time. So I'm still thinking of this, and I think for my position and for some of the young juniors, if they are considering the future of their job security, the best way is to prepare ourselves to have this kind of feel in mind, and meanwhile to adjust ourselves to the technology, to learn new things. And as an engineer, I always tell my students to keep learning. And that is kind of the IEEE ethics. Keep learning, bring the impact to the society, and you can also benefit from the society. So I think that is why we are in the professional society, because we share the information, exchange with each other, exchange our expertise. So I like to hear more from Gaudi, because she's the expert in the robotics and have more research in the AI or machine learning side.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, no, perfect. I completely agree with you. We are, in a rapidly changing environment. Technology is changing rapidly from day to day, and we need to adapt to it. Like you were mentioning, being an engineer is a lifelong learning experience. You have to adapt to new technology, take advantage of it. And we like to take advantage of it for good, right? We want to use technology to help our societies and our communities. So how can you use a chatbot or the new ChatGPT or the Palmy that has come out from Google to help your society? How can you develop it and integrate it into your research or your, research and development or engineering design to help? I think that's what we need to think about. And in general, we have to embrace technology because it's here. And then we are the kind of at the cutting edge of deciding what we can do with this technology and using it for good. So it's our responsibility to use it effectively and show the world, right, what it can do to help our society. I think, like you were saying, I think it's important to do it. You can't turn your back and say, okay, well, I'm not going to use that. So it doesn't, it's not my problem, it's someone else's problem, because unfortunately it's here and it's going to be eventually at your front door step, and you have to embrace it.
Thank you for sharing, because what we now discussed and what you challenged us is on the extreme technical level, but at the same time, being in that field, we also come across some geopolitical and very crucial social topics, which relate to the fact that we have women in a male-dominated environment. How do we deal with that topic best? I could now say, as we have Milos here as a president on the call with us, maybe you want to, comment on it, but I'd like to give you the chance, Milos, to listen to our views in the panel. Lucia, a question, very sensitive, but I think very important to address.
Well, my position is that bias are not due to some bad attitude. It's part of the culture. So we need to change the culture. So first of all, it's very important to organize events like Women in Engineering workshops or diversity inclusion workshop to make people aware of the implicit stereotypes that are the roots of biases. So for instance, why the glass ceiling problem? Because not because there are no women that are good at taking the leadership in very high role, but because when a decision has to be made in this sense, there is an underlying assumption that the woman sooner or later will have other activities, like caring activities, can be take care of the kids or take care of the elder parents or both. So this is one bias that is unconscious, but people need to understand if they are affected by this. And these biases start from family, then they also stay in school. So the first thing is to make everyone aware of the bias. And some biases are really astonishing. There is a joint research from a French university and a Canadian one. Do you know this associative test thing? So you need to make a fast connection without thinking too much, just, you know, suddenly between two words. Yeah. And they associate research to male. And they were people from academia. But this means that it's a cultural problem. So I think that when you enter in a male-dominated environment, well, the first thing is to create the awareness that there could be some misconceptions, some biases, and then you should be consistent. So on one end, you should speak up politely, nicely, but you have to speak up. You should get rid of the imposter syndrome that affects many women. And you should not offer to take coffee for the others, of course. You have to be consistent. You have to engage with them. And, you know, I think that this can work as long as everyone, not only women, are involved in this process. Men need to be on our side in this. It's a joint effort to make more diverse environment. So men and women need to work together on this. This is my position.
Very, very clear and interesting statement. I have to find in my card, and I have found another grouping which I think fits now well to that part. And here it's more about really the fact of how can we increase, and that's the third part here, the interest in power electronics for female students. We addressed it a little bit earlier with STEM programs, and here I would like to address it to Yi Chen. You were asked before, or Jenny is your international name, to one of the people who put a lot of efforts into that field. Do you think STEM programs help us to increase interest in power electronics? You're on mute.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I can share some of my experience in my observation on our campus and also our collaboration with the community college. So it's very interesting to see when I go to the community college campus, like do the recruiting and talk with the students. In fact, most of them, I think it is due to the background. Most of them have no knowledge. For example, they don't know what's the difference between computer engineering and electrical engineering. They don't know what is the difference between power and the electronics, right? So I think there are lots of things for the university educator and also academia faculty to think about. So one of our efforts is like to reach out them, give them seminars, and we also bring our student projects. And we will, from the university, like the senior projects, expose them to see what is the engineering program, really talk about. And another side is like we invite them to our campus, give them the open house, have a tour of the lab. And when they're considering like a transfer to a 4-year, to a university like UW, what kind of program is the program fitting them, and based on their courses taken, do they satisfy the prerequisites, so on and so forth. So I think first, the students is kind of no knowledge. So what we can do is we need to expose them to the real world and tell them there are lots of resources available. So efforts should come from us. And from the student side, I think they need to know like what kind of resources available. For example, on our campus, we have the IEEE student branch. And in that side, you pay a small amount of the money. I know the money might be issue for some of my students, but the money really can bring you to see the opportunities. For example, you can know the local regional IEEE branch, and when they have activities, you join them, and then you can have a social network, right, to know more people in the industry, and then build kind of the network. So if you are brave enough to work out of your comfort zone, you can know more people, either as a faculty in the university or some manager from the industry. So I think that is the way we can help students to know more about the power electronics relevant to the STEM, subjects or topics, and also the local industry, to get those information as much as possible.
Thank you. I don't know, Yun, I always pronounce your name wrongly. I hope you give me a few minutes for the panel, and all the audience has a little bit time, that we are not, how I say, stretching your night, especially because it's late in China. But I have 3 cards which I still would like to share with you and get your thoughts. And one is now related to the topic, which is again a very sensitive topic. So I have my 3 cards left over now, which one is related about the discrimination for women who work in the research area, especially in areas with men again. And here I feel, Leila, coming out of an interesting country, the nationality and your religious experience maybe triggered some thoughts to respond to that question.
Sure, I'll be happy to share some experience. So in general, I have to say, I mean, I started my academic career in 2005, so it has been almost 18 years. So over the years, the situation has improved. I mean, it has been lots of awareness, and there has been all these talks about diversity, inclusion, and equity. So things have been much better. But there are certain things that, of course, in a male-dominated field, I think it is a little bit more difficult to gain trust, because just there are not that many females, so it is a little bit more difficult to be trusted and to be acknowledged. And most people actually are nice about to give you credit for our accomplishments, but I mean, being a minority, being a woman, and in general being a minority, I mean, if you receive an award or a recognition or something, there are always some set of people, a small number of people, that might question it, that did you get it because you were qualified, or did you get it because you were a minority or women? So my recommendation is just always to ignore it, because most people actually are nice about it, and they know. I mean, most women I know that they got an award or they got recognized, they were always have been highly qualified in addition to being a woman or minority, but there is always some bias from a small percentage of people that I think it is just best to ignore.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And due to the moment of time, I would like to ask Yi-Yan to help me out with some ideas on that question, which really, or this grouping of questions, which a lot of students or maybe young academics asked, which really, how I say, triggered me. What are we missing in sharing? Because the first question is, how can women in engineering give an opportunity in research domains on industry side? What are possible pathways? Are we missing guidance? Are we missing mentorship, which maybe people are looking forward? And how we can help them to participate in conferences, as it was recommended by Lucia, which helped her a lot in her career. So Yi-Yan, what would you see in that field we, how you say, can offer? Or where do we can do more?
Yeah, so I'm not sure whether you're asking about for the first question specifically, or in general, every aspect of the how can women engineering help students or young professional in many ways. So as I have introduced in my slides at the beginning of the session, we are in the process of organizing events and activities in different type of from different type of perspective. So conference is one of them. And we will organize the luncheon, and hopefully we'll get more members or student members. They can join us at that event, and we can have a networking event after that, right after the luncheon, if they have time after that. And that's one of the things we are trying to explore, the different kind of form of activities in addition to what we have done before as a forum and tech forum workshop. I still think we would like to organize, for example, technical kind of sessions, which will be mainly from the student bodies, but it's still under considering like what the best way we can involve more students and young professionals to be involved in the Women in IES activity in the conference, because not everybody, like not many students, they can attend the conference. So other than that, I'm now attending the Women Engineering IEEE Women Engineering meetings at Atlanta. So try to see the opportunities whether we can collaborate with some of the regional representative or chairs of the IEEE Women Engineering. We can, because they already have such a big network worldwide, and whether we could collaborate with them, or whether we should build our own Women in IES network so that we can help all the local women in IES so that they can organize networking events or technical events if they wish, and we'll give them support, as well as what we have mentioned earlier of the question about how can we help for people in the underrepresented areas. We probably could appoint like ambassadors or representative in that areas, and the ambassador can communicate with us directly, and we will give them whatever kind of support they will need from their side, because to be honest, I don't know what they need in those areas. And we're moving to those directions because I'm new to this position, so I'm learning and I'm helping as well, and try to find a better way. Like,
and this is maybe a good point what you just said. You are new to this position, and truly we are not here to give answers to everything, and we can only inspire, also to ask more questions or to help us with input. And I didn't want to stop you here, Yayun, but I would like to encourage the audience to come up with questions. And I want to stop here, even if I have more cards with questions, because I think the audience likes to come up with some of their inputs. And I like to finish only with one little question here to the group, which is, how can we overcome the bias in engineering? And I think there is no bias. It's more up to us, how we present us and how we personally take the stamina to present ourselves. And this question I have now taken on myself with this silent language of leadership, which I mentioned to you before about that horse, which was on my last slide. Because sometimes you believe that you cannot do it, but if you want to do it, it can happen. What was my story with the horse? I was working in an exercise with Iceland horses, and my horse should have walked with me along the, grass. The horse looked white, it looked dirty, it didn't look really attractive to me, and the horse didn't do anything. Then I took another horse, which was really aggressive, and the horse and I was more or less like in tune, and we got walking together as well. And then I got the teacher's request, choose the horse for the next exercise. And everybody believed I took this crazy horse again, which was walking with me in tune. No, I said to myself, it's up to attitude, it's up to personal willingness to change. And I walked with this white, dirty horse, And suddenly the horse realized that I wanted to make a change. I wanted to make an impact. And the horse and I walked through the paddocks, through the grass. And at the end, you could really see it's about internal stamina, and we can drive changing. And the last question I would leave to all of you with 3 words to say what you think. How can the individuals who are with us today on the call or at any other time be actively engaged in the activities of women in engineering? Because we want our community to grow, and we want to be a role model for not only IEEE, but other international and local organizations who support women in engineering. Yi-Zheng, let's start with you. What can people do to be actively engaged?
You're asking the question about how they can be actively engaged in the women engineering activities,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, they can, whoever, I mean, I receive several emails about active volunteering kind of request that they want to be actively involved in the volunteering in the women in IES, and I'm very happy to welcome them. So we actually, I'm building up the database of all the contents I have based on recommendation from Lucia and Milos and other people. And also they emailed to our Women in Engineering email address. So for whatever activity we are organizing, and it will be posted on the website, and they are very welcome to join those activities if it's related to their areas. And also we are, as I said earlier, we are under the planning process that we have so many different things want to move forward, like a mentoring session or webinars or website maintenance as well, conference events, workshop, technical sessions as well, pathways, or develop documents or luncheon like outreach activities and ambassadors. So each of them would take lots of time to do it. So we need to build up more volunteer database. And the idea I have now, I have not discussed with you guys of the committee, that we should develop more subcommittees for each category. So each of us may be in charge of one of the activity, while for each activity, we have a subcommittee to work on it. So it's get the snowball rolling. Otherwise, if only a few of us are working on this, our time is limited because we have full-time job. So I think that way we can bring more volunteers in as well. The volunteers, they will bring more of their friends, their colleagues to join the society. So that's my near future plan for this year, while we maintaining the regular activities we have for this year. Yeah.
Like a snowball effect with positive, how you say, intent. Lucia, as a start of this initiative, how do you see we have developed over the years? And how do you think the engagement has grown over the time? What triggered people to join?
Well, the enthusiasm that we demonstrate at our events is one trigger. And of course, we need to nurture this immediate effect. So my recommendation is to nurture the local activities. So we should have a kind of a hierarchical approach with local, maybe chapters or sections, whatever, that should be helped in starting some initiatives with schools, with local industries. So yeah, I think that we need to use the momentum that is generated by our events to create small local structures distributed in the region where the conference is held, but thanks also to the use of Zoom, these tools, we can reach also people that are very, very far from us. Of course, LinkedIn is a tool that could be exploited better. So I created this LinkedIn group, but I'm not as good as you, Regina. You are really great at using it. And I think this can be really instrumental to reach people, and we should use it better, for sure.
Thank you for that comment and also compliment. And with all that inputs, I would like to thank the panelists for their inputs and also inspiration for the people to join us in future activities. So we were overrun. We have basically lost less than 5% of the participants, which is great. And with that, I would like to hand it over to our young students who helped us with some background facilitation. Are there any more questions except one which I have seen in the panel, which shall be answered? Because we have here, and I'm not sure if Meghan is still with us, a very good point related to AI. I wonder how much the conversations about generative AI are similar to those people had once information became freely available over the internet with Google.
Yes, I'm still here. It was more of a comment than just as it's a new fancy thing. Generative AI, ChatGPT is a new fancy technology. I think there's a lot of people who maybe don't necessarily understand it and think it can do more than it actually can. Right.
And thank you for addressing that, because, you know, some young people think they are very much behind, but maybe they're not so behind. It's always a question of how you, from a marketing point, put the slogan up.
Absolutely. I think it makes it, I'm an very early career faculty member, right? Struggling with the work-life balance. One thing I didn't hear you speak very much about as panelists, which I think would be interesting to bring into, especially at grad studies, is just the responsibility of family and the choice to have a family or not have a family and how that affects your career path. Because
I love that question, but you know what? It was never addressed in any point in the pre-registration phase from somebody. Thank you for asking it. And I think we have some people who have gained experience in that field. Lucia.
Yes, as I said, it's possible, but you will not perfect. You will not be perfect at work. You will not be perfect as a wife. You will not be perfect as
I like
a
your comment about not striving for perfection.
No,
it really hit a solid note for sure.
My personal experience is that I waited too much for kids, so I started at 40, so I had just one. But it's okay. I mean, it's something that you really need to be prepared. But then we can manage, because we are used to do many things at the same time. So it's just a matter of modulate yourself. And I was breastfeeding for 1 year, and my kid, my son at that time was traveling with me, even overseas. I was kicking people out of the lab because I had to breastfeed him, and then they could enter again once I had finished. So it's just a matter of, schedule.
Figuring it out. Yeah, just to share, since we're sharing, my experience was that I chose to have a family, and I chose to not pursue an academia, or I had the bias against women, which I think is another thing that we forget. we can have those biases. The biases we're trying to fight, often we have them and they affect us, right? But definitely my bias was I cannot be an academic and a mother. Therefore, I shall choose to be a mother, not a, my children are now 8 and 11 years old. But because I went in that path, the I guess the bar or the difficulty that I'm encountering with my career is my publication record, right? Because I did one before the other. So just to catch up now at the beginning of my career, I find that I have to catch up quite a bit more on the publication side. But I think it's just a dynamic or a story. I wish that I would have seen role models who not only talked about their successes in careers, but how they were able to achieve those successes, even with a family, right? I really wish that as a younger engineer, I would have been given examples or seen examples of how women did actually do both.
And me, look, I look forward that we set up some sessions where we talk about that, because I can tell that also myself. You know, when I was pregnant, my manager was saying, and now the world will, not the world will change, your business will change. And it was like, you can't be anymore in sales, you can't be part of our board anymore. And guess what I decided? The child was 4 weeks old and I brought it into the board meeting. And he looked of like, do you want to stay? And I said, yes, yes, I'm here. And I stayed the whole meeting. Yeah. So it is something where you then have to take the courage and not get frightened, because in actual fact, not you yourself are frightened, the surrounding is frightened, and you get triggered by that and start to get nervous.
I remember breastfeeding in the lab. Yeah, absolutely. But I think if it could be normalized, I think that might be one where we were just talking about how we can encourage women in these fields. If we can normalize that image, I think it might become more attractive to women, even like in high school.
Yeah,
Yes.
and yeah, you see, we get a lot of topics which people would be interested to talk with us. And I think we are just opening up because everybody gets to know each other. The questions which we got before were very formal, very official. And now we are really coming to that topics which are triggering really some decisions and why we have acted differently.
Work-life balance. is
And that can be a very interesting topic for lunch, where we also start earlier so that our Asian community can join, because I believe, and this is one of the reasons why I spent part of my career in Asia, because it was much easier to combine family life with business compared to a structured German scenario.
Yeah, thank you, Regina and Megan. So I know Megan a long time ago. So Megan, we could have a chat after that.
All right, no, anytime.
Okay, so as this is already almost 2 hours for this session, I would thank Regina for moderating this panel discussion, and it's such interesting and fruitful discussion from the panel. And so let's have a look what other questions we will have. Thank you. Do you see any other question on the chat or?
I haven't seen any other question except for the one raised by Megan.
So maybe let's see, are there any further questions from the floor, from the audience? Thank you for being with us for so long time.
One last encouragement, please put your feedback on the social media. Share what you get as an output. Was it waste of time? Shall we do it again? And help us maybe with individual comments to any of the participants, what can be improved, because it's about us and it's about creating a community together. Thank you for spending the Friday with us.
So if there are no further questions, I would like to conclude this session. So thank you very much again for joining us today, and an active participation in this session. And we would work hard to and strive to serve the society better. That's one of the motivation we organized this session today. and we'll continue to do more work and have more activities coming out. Please visit our website and also stay tuned for more activities. And we love to see you being there for all the events you're interested in attending with us. And again, thank you for the committee members who take this time from your busy schedule. Such a harder time. We kind of working together, such a very like precious time we work together. I should not say harder time. Sorry for that. So thank you very much for your help and participation. And definitely we will have more interesting discussion after the session, but I would let you guys go today, and we will be planning for another meeting in the future. We'll discuss what kind of feedback we'll have from this session. Thank you very much, everyone.
Over.
Thank you.
Thank you.